ओके स्टूडेंट्स, आज की इस क्लास के अंदर जिस चीज को मैं और आप लेकर चलेंगे वो है द पोम द विंड रिटन बाय रॉबर्ट लुइस स्टीवनसन। इस पोएम को हम लोगों ने डिस्कस करना है एंड विल आल्सो बी डिस्कसिंग द डिफरेंट पॉइंट्स रिलेटेड टू दिस पोम। फॉर एग्जांपल, we will be discussing what are the literary devices have been used in this poem. We'll also be discussing that what is the hidden meaning of this poem, what the poet really wants to say. Those things will be discussed in this poem. So we'll have to start. The name is The Wind, and first of all we'll have to go through the important points of this poem. This poem is a thought-provoking poem, and the wind has been represented just like a dynamic force, just like a human being, as we discussed previously. And the poet will be discussing the invisible power of the nature. Basically, wind is an element through which the power of nature is being represented. And I told you, the poet is representing the wind just like a human being. It has got so many powers. It can be a destroyer, it can be a creator, it can be a relaxing element, it can be an alarming thing. It has so many shapes to guide us. Also, observing the wind, the poet has several questions in his mind. We'll also be discussing that the poet is discussing this poem from a child's perspective. For example, if somebody is a child, so why the poet is taking this poem as or the wind is a child? I mean, what he thinks, I will definitely discuss that point too. And the poet was confused whether it is a beast of the field or a stronger child than the poet. So, having these points, we will be having the discussion of this poem stanza wise. So, we'll have to move forward. The very first stanza we are going to have over here, that will be, I saw you toss the kites on high and blow the birds about the sky, and all around I heard you pass like ladies skirt across the grass. Oh wind, blowing all day long, oh wind that sings so loud a song. Basically, when we start from the very beginning, one thing is quite clear: the poet has personified the wind. He is representing this power of nature in the shape of the wind. I mean, when the wind is being represented just like a human being. So the poet is of the opinion that I saw you toss the kites on high. So the poet is giving the human trait to the wind. So very first thing which we are going to face over here, that is enjambment. As I told you, enjambment is a literary technique in which poet uses or moves towards or jumps to the next line without using any line termination or any punctuation mark at the end of any line. So from the very beginning we are going to face what? Enjambment. One thing. Next thing, personification is quite clear in first two lines. They say the poet is representing it just like a human being. So this point is quite clear. Next, and all around I heard you pass like ladies' skirts across the grass. Kinesthetic imagery. Imagery is also present over here, and this imagery is showing, the different actions of the wind. Wind is behaving like a dynamic force all the time from the morning till late night. It is performing different things, but the thing which is confusing the poet, that is the invisibility of the wind. The poet is quite confused. From the child's perspective, he is thinking that if this thing or this element of nature is able to perform so many things, but why it isn't visible to me? So over here, from the beginning up to the fourth line we got, and over here just say, like ladies skirt across the grass, the poet is using the feminine force of the nature. Why? Because when the wind blows and it moves through the grass, the poet is comparing it with the skirt of a lady that moves through the grass, and it attracts to it. If it also put a good impact. So it is having different forces. It means like a lady who is moving and like enjoying the beauty of the grass. So over here, the moving of the blowing of the wind and the motion of the grass which is touching the grass, I mean the skirt, that is being compared with, the wind is being compared with the skirt of a lady. both are having the impact on the grass. So over here writer is showing the feminine force of the nature, and then he says, oh, blowing, oh wind, blowing all day long, oh wind that sings so loud a song. Over here the poet is showing the musicality in wind's sound. On the other hand, one thing is quite clear: when I told you an inhuman thing or a non-living thing is being addressed just like a human being, so that literary technique is called apostrophe. So over here writer is addressing or calling the wind directly, so this literary technique is being used, and that is called apostrophe. On the other hand, as I told you, if something is being repeated at the very beginning, that is called anaphora. But if any line or a phrase is being repeated at the end of any stanza, that is called refrain. So just see over here, this is refrain, oh when you can see at the end of every stanza you will be finding this line being repeated by the poet. So in the first stanza the writer has used, the poet personified, the wind being, he is representing the wind just like a human being. He is facing that the wind is performing different actions. How he's seeing that the birds are flying and they are getting a push or they are getting a blow from the side of a wind and they are moving forward. On the other hand, he is also observing the kites, they are going far and far, but that is also the power of wind, and there are so many other parts which are other than this stanza. On the other hand, then the poet observes, he is using different sorts of comparisons. He is comparing it with what? With the skirt of a lady also moving over the grass, giving a good impact. And over here I told you he is using the feminine force of the nature. And then at the end of the stanza, the poet is of the opinion that from the morning till late night this is blowing, and it has got such a beautiful musicality that even a child who is not present outside will be compelled to come out and enjoy and observe the beautiful sound of the wind. So two things have been used over here, refrain and apostrophe. इस stanza के अंदर जिसे हमने पढ़ा यहाँ. Now we are going towards the second stanza of the poem, The Wind. The first stanza we have completed, and we are talking about the power of nature, the different activities being performed by the nature. We have discussed, and some of the parts are still remaining, which we will be discussing in the second stanza. First of all, we'll have to move towards the stanza. Stanza is, I saw the different things you did. Who did? You did. But always you yourself you hid or hide. In the starting two lines, the poet is still using the literary technique personification. I mean, using a pronoun you and representing the wind just like a human being. He's having one thing in front of him. He's of the opinion that you are performing different sorts of activities right now. I'm observing. As I told you, the poet is observing this activity and all the parts of the wind from a child's perspective. एक बच्चे की नुक्ता निगाह से वो इसे चेक कर रहा है. फिर कहता है, I felt you push, I heard you, I could not see you at all. So just see, the poet is now telling that one thing very, very clearly. He's of the opinion that I'm observing you are helping the kites to go high and high. I'm just observing that you are helping the birds to fly, and things are moving here, there, here and there, and different things are having activities just because of your power. So the whistling, the beautiful sound I can go through. The action you are performing are being done by you can be observed. But now one thing which is confusing the poet is that I am not able to see you. You are not visible to me. If you are such a power, then you should be visible, but you are not visible in front of me. That's why the poet is quite confused. That if you are able to do so many things, then you are not visible to me. That is a thing which is confusing the poet. And then he says, I could not see you at all. Oh wind, oh blowing all day long. Oh wind that sings so loud a song. So same the musicality from the child's perspective. I am telling you the sound and the activity which is being done by the wind from the morning till late night. It is blowing, ये चल रही है हवा और attract कर रही है. It has got such a musicality in its sound that everybody can get attracted whether that person is outside or inside. अगर वो बाहर हो या अंदर हो, लेकिन इसकी हवा के चलने से, इसकी आवाज से जो म्यूजिकलिटी पैदा होती है वो इतना अट्रैक्ट कर सकती है कि बंदा बाहर आए और इसको ऑब्जर्व करे. आप देख लीजिए, इसके अंदर पर्सोनिफिकेशन यूज हुई, डिफरेंट एक्टिविटीज को बताया गया कि विंड परफॉर्म कर रही है. उसके साथ साथ हमें यह भी बताया गया कि तू बहुत से काम कर रही है लेकिन नजर नहीं आ रही. और आखिरी दो लाइनों में वही बात की पोइट ने कि भाई आप सुबह से शाम तक चलती हो और देर तक एक गाना भी गुनगुनाती हो। एक तो ये कि आपकी एक्टिविटीज फ्रॉम द डॉन टू डस्क, सुबह से शाम तक चलती है। और दूसरी बात ये कि यू हैव गॉट वंडरफुल musicality in your sound that it can attract anybody. यहाँ तक कोई confusion, कोई difficulty, बेटे इसको note कर ले। Now we are moving towards the third stanza of the poem The Wind. We have gone through the first two stanza and the thing will be the same. We will be facing the different activities performed by the wind. As I told you, wind is being represented just like a human being having the human qualities, doing different activities, and those activities are being observed by the poet throughout the poem. So in this stanza, I will have to check what are the things which have been observed by the poet. So I'm to read it out. Oh, you. Once again, which thing has been used over here? Oh, you. Apostrophe. Writer is addressing the wind just like a human being, directly addressing to an inhuman thing. That are so strong and cold. Oh, blower. Are you young or old? Over here, just see. Very first thing, the poet is quite confused about one thing. The poet is of the opinion that I'm quite confused. You are strong or cold. Are you so strong? Oh, you that are so strong and cold. That is the thing which has been observed by the poet. He knows very well the impacts of the wind are quite visible and quite clear. But the next thing, oh blower, once again addressing directly. Are you young or old? So right now the poet is quite confused. He is going to have, as I told you in the very beginning, he has got certain questions in his mind. Again, the poet is having one question in his mind. Are you old or young? So he's not having idea about that. So here I write, it is clear that the wind clears that wind is neither young nor old. Rather, it is none of any one of or none of these. Basically, problem क्या है बेटे कि the wind is timeless and ageless. यहाँ से हमें ये पता चला कि it is performing different actions. It is powerful, it is strong, it is cold, sometimes maybe hot. At the same time, poet is putting this impression that actions are quite visible, but it itself, I mean the wind itself, is not present to him. So he is not having any idea whether this wind is young or old. So the poet has clarified one point quite clearly, that it has no age limit. It is ageless and it is timeless. There is no time that the wind is blowing. It can blow all the time. It can be young, it can be old, but nobody knows about that. So it is ageless and it is another thing that is timeless. So nobody knows about that. And then, are you a beast of field and tree, or just a stronger child than me? Now once again the same question. One thing, I know very well sometimes you are very strong, sometimes you are very cold, you are blowing, but thing is that I don't know about you whether you are old or you are young. Now in the next line, the poet is going to call it beast of field and tree, or a stronger child than me. What does it mean? Metaphor is being used by the poet. The poet is using a metaphor. The wind has been compared with a wild creature just because of its agility and swiftness. अब ज़ाहिर बात है, एक पॉइंट जो पोइट को क्लियर नहीं हुआ कि अगर ये नौजवान भी नहीं है, बूढ़ा भी नहीं है और नजर आने वाला भी नहीं है, काम भी इसके बहुत सारे हैं, सो इट माइट बी एनी बीस्ट ऑफ फील्ड और ट्रीज, यानी जंगल में कोई बीस्ट या कोई बलाई हो सकती है जो नजर तो नहीं आ रही, क्योंकि इसकी फुर्ती और इसकी तेजी की वजह से पोइट ने इसके लिए डायरेक्ट मेटाफर यूज कर लिया और इसको बीस्ट ऑफ फील्ड और ट्री का नाम दिया. और इन द नेक्स्ट लाइन, और जस्ट अ स्ट्रॉन्गर चाइल्ड देन मी, द विंड हैज बीन कंपेयर्ड विद अ चाइल्ड. व्हाई? बिकॉज बोथ आर वाइल्ड, प्लेफुल एंड एनर्जेटिक. तो कहा अगर आप बच्चे की बात करें तो दोनों शरारती होते हैं, खेलने वाले होते हैं और एनर्जेटिक होते हैं, और अपनी शरारतों में उनकी कोई हद नहीं होती. तो यहां पर पोइट ने एक तो इसको मेटाफर यूज करके जंगल का कोई एक वहशी या कोई बीस्ट के साथ कंपेयर कर दिया, डायरेक्ट नेम दे दिया. फिर दूसरी लाइन में उसने क्या किया, इसको किसी बच्चे के साथ कंपेयर कर दिया, ये कहते हुए कि भाई वो शरारती होता है, तुम भी हो, एनर्जेटिक है, तुम भी हो, wild है, तुम भी हो. So that is the reason that the poet has compared it with a child. Again, metaphor has been used. And once again, we are going to face the last line. Oh wind, a blowing all day long. Oh wind, that sings so loud a song. Now the poet again using the technique of refrain. Again, he is going to give the reference of musicality of the wind that it is so fast and so beautiful. There is no time limit of its blowing. So all the day it is blowing one thing. On the other hand, it is creating beautiful musical effect that whosoever is inside their shelter or anywhere can observe the beautiful whistling of the wind beautifully, and it can attract them very easily. So here we are going to get the power of nature. Nature has different shapes, and in all its shapes it's so beautiful. It can give you relaxation, it can give you hidden message, it can give you guideline, it can give you some hidden signs, it can connect you with Allah Almighty, it can connect you with some hidden forces. Definitely the power of nature is, out of our comprehension. Its shapes are different, but the power is quite visible. Thank you very much. I hope the poem is quite clear to you.